For over 100 episodes of the Tech Your Business podcast, we've been doing all interviews and all recordings remotely. So wherever I am, the guest is wherever they are, and we do the recording. But today we'll be talking with an entrepreneur all the way from Pennsylvania. I was just talking to him and it's like it's 5:30 a.m. for him. So I was telling him I was telling him that that's when I wake too. So he'll be talking to us today. His name is Jeff. Jeff is the founder of Poduty Live, and that's a live podcast theater. So rather than having this remote thing, you actually go in and sit at a place. You have the theater behind. If you're on video, you can see the theater behind him there, and you just go in. You talk face to face with your guest or whoever. If you want to do your events, your shows, or whatever. So let me not just give everything away. Let me just hand it over to Jeff. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on so early today with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I usually get up at 5 AM, so getting up's not the problem. It's I don't realize how little my brain is functioning, and how little my eyes can see. Like, I'm still adjusting and trying to see everything. I usually just go about my morning routine. I start making coffee, start packing my lunch. But now we're this is gonna be a full 30-minute interview. I gotta get the brain firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, I think I actually wake up 5 a.m. too, but I don't do anything till maybe 9 or 10 because I know 5 a.m., 8 p.m., my brain is shut. So
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just asked for a little forgiveness if I sound a little foggy.
no, that's fine. That's fine. So I was about giving everything about your theater, so I decided to hand it over to you. So just tell us what a
Yeah.
live podcast theater is and why business owners should be interested in these concepts.
Yeah, I really feel there's this missing element between, right now I'm in my home studio, so I could be in my basement or, a little home office or even my mom's basement. Maybe I still live at home. You never know. Or there's also major money and influence coming into podcasting through comedians, actors, and they're doing these shows and they're starting to do live performances, but they don't have anywhere to go but large theaters, arenas, and they're filling up these large venues. In
Hmm.
between me and my basement podcasting by myself and these large arenas, there's nothing in between. Like, how does a mid-level how's a podcaster get to that mid-level, right? And that's really what I'm trying to answer here with this podcast theater. And like you said, it's a nice place. I'm trying to recreate the feeling that you get when you listen to a podcast. So it's a small, intimate experience that, just like when you're listening to a podcast one-on-one in your earbuds, it's
Mhm.
almost like you're in the room with the podcaster. And that's what we've built here. You can't help but to be drawn to this stage. So I'm trying to recreate that audio experience in real life. I'm trying to fill that missing void between, basement podcasters and arena podcasters so that we
Yeah.
can get to that next level. That's there's a whole I think there's a whole missing element in our lives today with being with other people. Like, since the lockdowns during the pandemic, since certain things are happening in America, different views on things, we're not together anymore. We're addicted to
Yeah.
our phones. We're addicted to social media. You don't even see people together talking to each other. They're looking at their phones, probably texting each other, silly things. Like, we're missing this human element, and that's what I'm building here. We just opened in June, and this is a 2-year experiment that I'm doing. It's so the feedback has been phenomenal, but I want to get people out of the house and and enjoying and consuming and immersing themselves in live entertainment. It's so much different when you see a podcast being recorded live, when you're that little fly on the wall in the room, just taking it all in.
Yeah.
It's a really different experience than listening, on your morning commute or during a workout.
Okay, so I think since you mentioned the theater and the live experience, so does this mean if a host and a guest are recording, do they get an audience there listening or something like that?
Yeah, for those of you watching, there's you can see I have these chairs.
Oh,
I bought these chairs from a school that closed for $2 a piece, so that was
wow.
a good find. So you can come into the theater now. I treat this stage almost like a portal to the world. because you can go on the stage as a solo podcaster, do your show. There's cameras all around recording everything, and we're also live streaming from the stage. So anyone anywhere could be watching you performing on that stage. They can
Mm.
interact with you by leaving comments and doing other things. And the audience is also giving you feedback from the stage. So you're surrounded by internet access, you're surrounded by the audience access, but it doesn't stop there. You could have a guest come on in the theater. That'd be great. You know, you could have an interview one on one in the theater, but your guest could be also anywhere in the world. We have TVs all around. So while you're on stage, you could connect to somebody somewhere else in the world, do an interview in real time in front of people while that's being broadcast back out. So really anyone anywhere can be part of this the stage behind me that it's truly is like this interactive portal to the world. It's hard to explain until you experience it, but you it's almost like I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek where
Yeah,
the pilots, you know, they go into this one room, they stand on this podium and they beam me up or beam me down. It's really like that scene in Star Trek where you're standing there and you can go to another place or bring another place to you.
yeah. Okay, so I think I see a problem this thing solves because I know this my podcast has been on for almost 2 years. I think this end of this month should make it 2 years. And I spent a couple $1,000s on keeping starting it and keeping it up. And a lot of this spending has been on maybe backdrop, equipment, camera, lights, mic, a lot of things. And a lot of these things won't are things that you won't have to spend if we're using your studio. So now looking at the cost between having to make all those investments and start and using your studio, what's the difference? How for a business owner?
Um, for a business owner, like, first off, all these things that you see that I invested in, I actually it took me 2 years. All this stuff was in my
Oh,
basement, you know, I bought the stage from a karate studio. I bought
mm,
the chairs I said from a school.
it's cool.
These lights I actually bought for $30. I got 10 lights, off of there's like an auction site that does Amazon returns. So, you
Yeah.
know, the way I did it is like you said, I pieced it together over, you know, a year or 2 and just started like stuffing stuff into my basement until I found the right building. Now for
Hmm.
a business owner, they wouldn't have to do all that. They don't have to have the equipment. I actually have 2 business models. One is if you wanted to rent the space, you could certainly rent the space. That's an easy business model. But what I really want to do is encourage creators to come in, and I want them to come in without a feeling of risk or without a feeling of worry that, hey, I'm going to be on the hook for this money that I'm going to owe this guy if I use this stage.
Yeah.
And so the arrangement that I'm doing is there's no fee, there's no risk to come in and do your show. And what I do in exchange for that is I'll build you a landing page to help sell tickets. I'll facilitate all the ticket sales. I'll record it for you. I'll give you back the recording. I don't take any ownership in your show or
Wow.
your recording. If you release it and you want to, you know, tag me, that's great. Hey, yeah, we recorded this live at the theater. That's great. Then all we're going to do at the end of the night, we're going to tally everything up and we're going to split it 50-50. You don't have to sell a minimum amount of tickets right now. You don't have to sell, you don't have to reach a certain level before we start splitting. It's a straight 50-50 split. There's no risk. You could sell 5 tickets and I'm happy with you right now.
Wow.
What I want to do is get butts in the seats and I want to get turnover and I want to build this as a thing. And I knew going into this it was going to take a year from when we opened in June to really get this thing firing because it really is a new form of entertainment and I'm trying to train the public like this is fun. Like when you experience this in real time, it's like nothing you've ever done before. But the barrier to like convince people like oh I just listen to a podcast in my car, it's free, you know. There's a hill to climb, and while we're doing 4 to 5 shows a month right now, I think by the end of January February we should be at 2 to 3 shows a week. So there's
Mm.
going to be this tipping point that's happening right now. We're in the middle of it, where I got people reaching out. I'm doing tours all the time, and it really is. It's a no risk chance for a business owner to get on the stage, or a content creator to get on the stage and just try it. Like just have an event. If your friends and family are the only ones that show up, that's okay. let's have some fun and let's try this together, and I bet you'll like it. That's
That's actually a very brilliant business structure because the way you described it, it actually removes, like you said, removes a barrier for a lot of people trying to, okay, I have to make that payment first, make that commitment first before I start shooting my content or whatever. At least you just come in freely with your creativity, with your whatever, do what you're doing, and once you're done,
yeah,
work on the
it's a
results.
it's very much based on the way, the comedy model works. So, newer shows, I'm gonna probably put on a Monday, Tuesday, or a Wednesday, earlier in the week where we can try things out, do little showcases, and try new shows. But if you start selling and moving some tickets, guess what? We'll move you to a Thursday, we'll move you to a Friday or a Saturday,
Hmm.
and we'll start to push those premium content towards the weekend, which more and more people will come. And that's how comedy shows have been doing it for years. They do like open mics on Monday and Tuesday, and the touring act comes in Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And that's what we want to do. We want to build up the content earlier in the week, find the best people, and push them to the weekend.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I've realized in business most times is that most times you start one thing, and over time, doing that one thing you started, you something comes up that you didn't think of, you didn't plan, and becomes I think they call it serendipity, happy accidents or something like that. So now you said this has been a 2 year experiment. You launched in June. Now, since launch, what are those? Is there anything that you didn't plan for before launch that has happened? Something, maybe an opportunity or something that's come up as a result of actually launching the studio?
Yeah, so I do a ton of virtual events, and we just did one at the end of September. It was 2 6-hour days, a new podcast every half hour. When I launched that, I had it booked in 3 days. I had enough
Wow.
podcasters show up in 3 days to fill that event, and, we ran it. It was amazing. I have a very strong connection online.
Wow.
I am also a guy who podcasts, like I said, in my basement, right? And I'm one of those people probably who've been too addicted to his phone for the last 10 years that doesn't have a local presence. I didn't realize this as much. So for me, I could fill events all the time, not a problem. Locally, I am pulling teeth to find people locally. So that has been the biggest learning curve, and the way I've had to do so much reach out and really just get the ball moving and get people to hear it. And there's I try to tag on to local events, like our town will do these pop-up markets. I'll open and give out candy and free tours, and really hustle to get people to the theater, because it is something that nobody's looking for, right? Nobody knows what a podcast theater is. You
Yeah.
have to love podcasting, and you have to love going out to like small theaters. So that's the niche audience that I'm trying to find locally. Online, not a problem. You and I can go live and live stream right now. We'll have, 20, 30, 40 people show up, and that's a nice little audience. That 40, 45 people would fill my theater. I would love that. But locally, getting people to a place is one of the most difficult things I didn't think about. I thought it'd be just like doing it online. People will show up. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's the benefit for your business. Now, for businesses you've worked with or content creators and co, who probably have moved from remote podcasting or remote shows to live shows at your theater, what unexpected benefits or anything have you seen any of them get moving from remote to live?
Yeah, the my favorite thing, and something I found is I love producing more than I love being on. I have 2 shows that I do, and I love doing them, and I love performing. The thing that I love seeing when I produce, is somebody who's never been on stage before, who's never been in front of a crowd before. If you've never experienced that, there's an amazing rush of emotions that flows over you when a show's over. And if you've ever been on stage and you get off stage, you are juiced. Like, you are pumped up. You are like, it is the greatest euphoric feeling being able to do something in front of people and they've enjoyed it. And when you get that
Yeah.
positive feedback, when when you get that feeling, mix it with the feedback, and then you see the final product, like, you're in, like, you're hooked. And I just love seeing that euphoric feeling on people's faces when like because until like even I'm just telling you, like you have to experience coming off of a stage at the end of a performance. You are just blown away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've tried that a couple of times. I think I used to be afraid of public speaking when I was younger. I joined Toastmasters. I remember the first time I got on a stage to give my my icebreaker speech, and I could hear my heart beating. I'm sure the
Oh yeah.
person at the back could hear my heart. But once I was done, it was just so
Yeah, the
exciting.
worst. Yeah. Oh, it's the best. It is one of the best feelings, and you could imagine how a rock star feels after a 2-hour performance in an arena.
Yeah.
Like they've got to be like, I'd be like, leave me alone for a while. I'm just gonna like, I need to sit. Like, and you do like you have to, sometimes you have to like almost. It's such a euphoric feeling. You have to decompress before you enter
Yeah.
back into the real world. Like yeah, it's because you do have nerves running up to it, right? So I console people and say, look, it's going to be fine. You know, you're the only one thinking about you in the way that you're thinking about you right now. Like people aren't thinking about you, or even me. Like I have a little bit of a lisp. I'm from Pittsburgh, so I run all my words together into one sentence, right? I talk funny to most people, and I would be hung up on that. Like why do people want to listen to me? Like who am I? And I realized I'm the only one thinking about that. Like it
Yes.
nobody thinks about me as much as I think about me. People have bills to pay. They got to get their kids to soccer practice. They don't care. They just want to be entertained for half an hour. And once you get over that hurdle, once you get on stage and all these pieces that you've been working on come together and you see a final product, plus that euphoric feeling of getting off stage, that's like the biggest reward is just being able to share that feeling with people.
True. Okay, so now for using a live studio, you have a lot of things might happen. Like I think if you noticed earlier, my power went off a bit for
Uh-huh.
about five yeah, because I have an
Okay.
inverter, so I think that's now picked up. So a lot of things come up. Like sometimes my internet goes off. I have about two connections here because of that, so I can swap
Mhm.
just in case. But now in the live studio, what sort of technical glitches, what sort of things come up? What sort of things have you seen happen?
Yeah, it's learning how to run the audio was a challenge because while I'm on stage broadcasting to the internet, if I have a guest on the internet and I broadcast that audio back into the theater, guess what happens? I start to create a loop, right?
Yes.
The mics are picking up. So I had to use I had to set things up a certain way I had to use different mixers, a mixer for the
Hmm.
live stream, a mixer for the house, and then the
Hmm.
two shall never meet. That's uh, you have to those little things. There's technical things, and sometimes something just stops working, like or the internet, like you lose the internet connection, you got to refresh real quick. So, as a backup, we usually have 2 or 3 connections to the internet just to make sure, okay, if this computer freezes or goes down, I'm not gonna lose the feed. I can be connected that way. So, all these little things, and I do a lot of my podcasts have interactive elements. Like I love when people can get on their phone and give real time feedback.
Hmm.
So, learning how do I get those things on the screen to the live stream and to the audience so that they can see and interact while the people at home are seeing and interact.
Yeah.
And there's just things and they're the things that I love most about the business are, figuring things out, the tinkering, right?
Yes.
Getting things set up. I still the thing that bothers me the most is like I really can't get this truss out far enough from the stage so it'd be that way. Pull it out so that I can get the lights should be more at a 45-degree angle.
Oh.
That bothers me a little. Like those are little things that still bother me. But the lighting's okay. I mean, everything's lit up without too much shadow.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I'm more bouncing the light in some cases, but those little things you do the trial and error, and that's the fun part, like figuring out how to get it. The speakers actually mount upside down, and they scared the crap out of me. Um, I was like, "Well, I'm gonna hang it." It's what it is you mount a pole to the truss, and then the
Mhm.
speaker just slides up onto the pole, and then it's a screw that just tightens. I'm like, "That's all that holds that speaker up?" And then as I did it and worked with it, it's not coming anywhere. And you do extra things to secure it too, but those things that you have to go through, you can't get to step 2 until you've done step 1,
Yeah.
and that's what's been most fun about this journey is okay, yeah, great. I can put the stage right here. I can put the chairs here. Now what? Like, how do I get the sound out? How do I make sure? Well, oh, one thing that was a big problem is once I was on stage and broadcasting, I'm so used to sitting here in front of my computer with you that I can see you, right? At
Mhm.
first, I couldn't see the virtual guest. It was just me talking and hearing the virtual guest, but I couldn't see it. It
Yeah.
drove me crazy. So now there's TVs all around the theater so that I can, no matter where I look, I can see the guest. So that was a learning curve. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect the not seeing the guest was a problem.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what you described is actually most entrepreneurs have that issue. Nothing is ever perfect. You keep tinkering, and even where you don't have what to tinker with, you just experiment and just change one thing or change the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah, all the time, just moving stuff around, trying different seating arrangements. I love the way that the seats are now. They're kinda C-shaped around the stage,
Yeah,
and there's no more than 3 rows. So you are always within 3 rows of the stage, and you're just drawn into that center point.
yeah. Okay, so now you mentioned having the idea for 2 years and launching in June. So, what did you have any technical challenges or any challenges in that time that delayed the launch?
Yeah, the piecing it together took 2 years, and same with finding the building. This was an idea I've had since 2017, 2018.
Whoa!
I actually presented at a conference, during the pandemic in 2020. It
Wow!
was a podcast. It's called Podfest Origins, and they were in Orlando, doing a virtual conference, and I presented what I called the infinite seat theater. That was the original concept where, what if you weren't bound by walls? Your capacity could literally be infinite. Like that was my whole my spiel because we can have 40 people in the theater, we can have 1,000 people watching online, and I think I just distracted myself. What was the question about the? It took me 7 years
Yeah.
total.
So the challenge is to actually get launched.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the last 2 years were the biggest. Once I decided, like, okay, this is something I really want to do, and I started acquiring the pieces. Finding a building is very difficult. I'm in an older town, um, and a lot of the buildings were like 17 feet wide by 120
Whoa!
feet. So they're like these old retail buildings, and they're just long and skinny. So
Yeah.
finding a building that's 20 feet wide is hard to do in this area. So I've looked at probably 30 or 40 places, and some of them were close, but nothing was perfect until I walked into the place where I'm at now, where it already had red carpeting like a theater would have.
Wow.
The ceilings were red. The landlord encouraged me to paint all the walls black. He's like, just make it black. It'll be so sick. And I was like, the landlord is telling me to do this, and he was all about supporting it, all about the arts. He actually owns a gallery down the street, so
Oh,
anything art related, he was super excited about.
nice.
And just getting there, finding the building and finding all the pieces. And even when I bought these orange chairs that you see behind me, I was like, where am I going to put 100 orange chairs? They're the ugliest chairs I've ever seen, but in this space they work perfectly. Like it's like everything came together. And that was something that took a while. That was I didn't expect
Yes.
to take 2 years to find the right building to do the right to give the right experience.
Yeah, and I think that's something I've learned over time. That's something I've learned over time. That when it's the right time, everything just falls in place, and it's much easier than you felt it would be. So
Yeah.
now for
I always like
yeah,
the saying, "The best time to plant an apple tree is 20 years ago,
yeah,
and the second best time to plant it is right now." So, like, yeah,
exactly.
maybe I coulda did this 7 years ago, but some reason I didn't, so, like, I'm gonna do it now. Like,
Yes,
that's it.
and do it well.
Yeah, do it well, yes.
Okay, so now there's for a lot of businesses like I talked about at the beginning who do all virtual meetings or in office meetings, and maybe they want to transition to doing hybrid meetings. What's a way you can say, an easy way, or the easiest way you can say they can transition from either physical or virtual meetings to actually do hybrid meetings? Because I think you've picked up a lot of things. You showed me an OBS, something in the
Mhm.
beginning for the virtual background. You just talked about not seeing the virtual guests being a
Yeah.
problem, which is something a lot of us won't think of. So can you just share a couple of tips around that?
Yeah, I think, it is a transition, and with a lot of companies being virtual now, right? Some companies don't have a home office. They have virtual employees all around the world. And, like, how do you get people together, and how do you have this cohesive, like, branding message, right? Because if I didn't have OBS on, all you would see behind me, and you can kinda see my skin tone, there's a green screen behind me, right? Um,
Yeah.
you would, like, how does that match the corporate brand? So there are great products out there, Riverside, Podcastle. Like, we're on Podcastle right now. I've never used this before. This is a great, simple service that can keep your branding message in line. And that's one thing you don't think of. If you're going to use a StreamYard, you're going to look like you're on StreamYard, right? If you use Riverside, it looks like you're on Riverside. And what
Yeah.
you want to do is be able to have the control to make it look like your brand, right? That's a thing that you probably don't think about when you go into this. I don't wanna look like a StreamYard live stream. I wanna look like our brand. So, make sure you can control the elements, like, I think most of you know right now that I'm not in my theater, but behind me is a picture of the theater. So, you
Yes.
can do things with green screens. You can change the background and the look and feel so that you're able to make sure your employees know who you are, what you stand for, what is our direction, what is our messaging, or if we're a bank, don't you probably wanna see, like, marble and lions and stuff, like, behind me, like, because you wanna show strength, right? I wanna show fun and entertainment and light colors and I wanna show this entertainment element. So I wanna you make sure that your branding aligns with your live stream. And, the technical things, like, don't try to stream a company message over Wi-Fi. Make sure you're connected to Ethernet. Like, you wanna be plugged in when you're streaming. Don't go to a Panera in the back booth and,
Yeah.
with record with your earbuds that also have microphones in them. You know, there's little things you can do to elevate your game very cheaply, very inefficiently. Like, you can get a decent $50 microphone on Amazon. I'm using I love this one from Elgato. It's the Wave XLR. It's been a game changer for me, which I love.
Well,
So it's like a $200 microphone. You want to have the good quality stuff to show strength for your brand, because if you're doing virtual and hybrid stuff, you're not paying office rent, right? Get the good equipment. You're saving thousands of dollars a month in rent.
yes.
Get the good stuff and make sure your employees know that you're investing in this, and you value this time that they're sharing with you.
Amazing. So now, for the listeners who are listening to this episode, is there anything probably I haven't asked about, but you feel you would like to share with them, you would like to leave them with at the end of this episode?
Yeah, try live. Like, if you've been recording even in your house, right? Try getting on video, try getting live to people. You'll see how much it changes the dynamic of your show. You'll enjoy it so much more, and you'll have extra elements to work from too. If you're just recording audio, okay, you got an audio podcast, great. There's nothing else really you can do with that, right? But if you're getting the video, if you're recording yourself and your reactions, and then people can visually see your reaction, because reactions, if I just smile and laugh, like, you don't hear that on an audio podcast, but you
Yeah.
can capture that with video. So try it. Try getting in front of the camera, try taking that, and then you can make little clips from it. You can do social media things, but at least you'll have it. You'll have the video element of it, that you'll start to see, like, what am I doing when somebody says that, or like, what's my face look like, when someone says a weird joke or something. You'll start to learn how you're reacting. You'll see how you're reacting. You'll see, your microphone positioning. Like, if I'm way back here trying to talk compared to what if I'm way up here and I'm trying to talk.
Yeah.
You'll learn additional things about how you're recording, and microphone placement, or some people are like this on their podcast where they're just talking with the microphone in front of their face the whole time.
Yeah.
um you want to be you want to learn every time you do a show. You should be learning something, and that's the probably the best takeaway. Episode 2 is going to be better than episode 1. Episode
Yes.
10 is going to be 10 times better than episode 1. So just try it. It'll change the dynamic of your show in a positive way.
Okay, so I think that's the advice. Try going live and also watch your episode so you can improve on what you've done. So now, for some of us, we've managed to get online, get on video, but we don't want to go live. So, how would you encourage us to actually go live? What are some blockers that you've seen prevent people from doing that?
Yeah, the reality of it is it's a saying that I say that shocks people at first, but then they're like, "Okay." And I touched on it a little bit earlier. No one cares, right? All those things that you're worried about and you're hung up on, that you're thinking like, "Oh, I can't go live because, maybe my room is messy, or I don't have good equipment. No, they're gonna judge me," I'm
Yeah.
using corded earbuds that I got for $10 on Amazon. Like, I d nobody's thinking about you the way you're thinking about you. And I hung up on that for years. I wanted to do a podcast. I started my first one in 2011. It was fun. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't even know what an RSS feed was. But then I never did it again because I kept getting in my head about who wants to see me as a host, who wants to hear my voice, and it was just me. I was the only one. I'm the only one. I'm the only one thinking about that. Nobody else, no one cares. Like I said, like, people have bills to pay. They're hungry and want to get home and have dinner, and you know they're exercising. My role is to fill their time for 30 minutes with good entertainment. They already chose me. If they're listening to me, they chose to come to my show.
Yes.
I don't owe them anything else but 30 minutes of fun, entertainment, enlightenment, information. That's the contract, that they're looking for something. My goal is to fulfill it. And all those things that hang you up, I promise you, when you first see yourself recorded, when you first hear your audio, you were the only one critiquing that. Nobody else was even thinking about it. So
So I
do it.
think
Just get out there and do it.
yes. So do it. Nobody cares. Just get your things out, and you get better. Like you said,
Yeah.
your episode 2 will be better than episode 1. Episode 10 will be 10 times better than episode 1.
Yeah,
So
they'll care about what you produce. They'll take in your entertainment, but they're not thinking about you. They're not worried about how you sound and how you look. They just want entertainment, and they want to be fulfilled at the end of the 30 minutes.
exactly, and like you said, for them to be watching you or listening to you, they actually chose you.
Yeah, yeah. What more flattering compliment is there than someone gave you 30 minutes of their time, right? You're like, wow, thanks for joining me. I really, really appreciate that. It's crazy, like when especially when you meet somebody who listens to your show. You're like,
Yes.
you're all, wait, you're listening? Like somebody, it is a weird feeling because there is no feedback with a podcast. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. You're not going to hear anything back. Like nobody's going to say, you might get a weird comment or something here and there, but your initial feedback is going to be people who know you, your friends and family. Um, it's not going to be, you don't get, when people release a podcast, in most cases there isn't just comments. Spotify's
Yeah.
trying it now with leaving comments, but there really isn't real-time feedback with podcasts. So put it out there, see what happens, do it. Like, stop waiting.
True. All right. So I've really enjoyed our conversation. It's been very relatable and everything. So for listeners who want to continue this conversation, who want to learn more from you, or probably someone who's close to Pittsburgh and wants to use the studio, check out the studio, or meet you, what's the best way they can reach you?
Yeah, I would love it. Free tours all the time. I'll happily show you how it works. I'll show you exactly how it works. Stop on down. You can connect with me through the website, Poduty, PODUTY.com, PODUTY.com, Poduty.com. You can see some of the events that we have coming up. You can see how you can use the stage for free. And I'd love to meet you and connect with you. Even if you're not in Pittsburgh, we can do some virtual shows too.
Amazing. So poduty.com, it will be live on the screen for the video. It will be in the show notes for the audio. And also the address probably will be in the show notes. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. And I feel awake now.
Good way to start the day. I think I should start recording podcasts earlier too.
I'm ready to go. Now, see, I'm getting off stage and I'm juiced. That's it.
True. So now for the listeners, thank you so much for being with us this long. Thank you for I'm sure you learned a couple of things. I've actually been learning from Jeff from before we started through the episode, and I'm sure you picked up one of two things. If you did, and you know someone else that this episode will benefit, share it with them. Till next week when we are back with another episode of the Tech Your Business podcast. Keep taking your business and do it. Nobody cares. Bye for now.